Hi, Mystery Writers. Welcome to the Mystery Writers Studio. I'm Zara Altair, and today I wanted to talk about your sleuth sidekick. Now, not every sleuth has a sidekick, but your sidekick, when you do have a sidekick, can add a lot to your story and a lot of information for your reader about your sleuth. And your sidekick's role in the story is going to depend on how you choose to amplify your sleuth with the sidekick. Mainly, you want your sidekick to mirror your sleuth in some way. Um, so that's the main job of the sidekick in your story. The sidekick has a special role, and that's to accompany your hero or heroine on their quest in the mystery. And the sidekick helps your sleuth track down the murderer. That's the ostensible, what we call external goal, what your reader sees the sidekick is there to do. But the sidekick is not necessarily a mentor. The role of the mentor is to appear periodically and provide sage advice. Well, your sidekick doesn't have to do this. And the sidekick wouldn't be a sidekick if they weren't there through thick and thin. So they're right alongside your sleuth, discovering things, and they also have a connection that sets them on this trail of discovery to find the murderer. And even if the sidekick is assigned to your sleuth, which often happens in crime novels where your sleuth has no choice over who their sidekick is or their partner is on an investigation, they both are set on solving the mystery. So they both have an external goal, but let's look at how your sidekick mirrors the detective. The sidekick and the sleuth work together and they have something in common. Um, it may be a knowledge of police procedure or a common interest. In the film The Crimson Rivers, thoughtful Pierre Niemans, played by Jean Reno, um, works with an action-oriented Max, who's played by Vincent Cassel. And though they're often at odds and approach things from a completely different way, um, as far as procedure is concerned, they both have the goal of finding the killer. And John D. McDonald's creator Meyer created Meyer, um, The Economist, to help readers understand Travis McGee in his long-running mystery series. So the sidekick essentially holds up a mirror to your sleuth by highlighting their strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes the sidekick compensates for the weaknesses by having an opposite personality or a style of response or a skill. And some sidekicks may pick up the slack, others may not. It's up to you. That's why we have so much fun writing our stories. But the sidekick can highlight the strengths by pointing them out when your sleuth meets an obstacle and help them through periods of discouragement. So, some things to consider when you want to create your sleuth sidekick. You have a lot of leeway as to creating your sidekick, and they can be male or female, younger or older, or the same age as your sleuth, new to the game, or an old hand. It's up to you to create a sidekick that will accompany your sleuth on your discovery journey. So, first thing you want to do is make that sidekick as distinct and interesting character. They aren't just a cookie cutter copy of your sleuth. So you want to give them a personality and one that interacts with your sleuth. That's why often you'll see the sidekick has an opposite personality to the main sleuth. Um, you want to build their skill set in the same way you create your sleuth skill set. Just give them some different strengths and weaknesses. And as a continuing character, you'll need to know a lot about them. If, for instance, if you're planning a series and that sidekick is going to show up in each novel in the series, you're going to go deeper and deeper and to keep your readers engaged. Um, at the same time, you want to keep your sidekick from taking over the story. It's fun. They're fun to create, and you may be tempted to let the sidekick take over, but resist that temptation. Your sleuth is the protagonist, all right? So keep your sleuth and your sidekick connected. If you create an antagonistic sidekick, be sure to make the connection between the two characters strong. For instance, this often happens in crime procedural novels where a partner is assigned and they really don't get along very well, but they're still set on that same goal of solving the mystery puzzle. So rethink your sidekick or create a more sympathetic and supportive sidekick if you're having trouble with creating an antagonistic sidekick. All right. Just remember that the sidekick and the sleuth make that discovery journey together, not separately. All right. So you want to create traits that showcase the detective strengths and weaknesses. That's why you can have them be opposite, the sleuth and the sidekick. The sidekick complementing your sleuth strengths and weaknesses, and oftentimes not afraid to point out what those strengths and those weaknesses are. So your sidekick supports your sleuth, and they support them physically and emotionally as they work to solve the whodunit puzzle. And I've been thinking a lot about sidekicks recently because in the story I'm working on now, the partners aren't even assigned. Violent crime detective sort of picks who's available or where they are available. And so in my current story, there's a great sidekick. They have a wonderful relationship. But one of the sidekick's jobs is to point out to the protagonist that she has skills that she doesn't think about, and that other detectives in the sheriff's department are really in awe of her skills. She's so busy just doing her job, she doesn't even think about those things. And I'm thinking about the next story where she's in a different part of the same county working with a different detective, and I'm thinking about making them a little more antagonistic. So that sidekick is going to be not so much pointing out her strengths as pointing out her weaknesses. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's my plan for the moment. So you have a lot of leeway. That's just what I want to emphasize, is you have a lot of leeway in creating your sidekick. Just remember that your sidekick and your sleuth are after the same goal, and that is solving the mystery. Okay, I hope that helps. And if you have any questions about creating your sidekick or what to do with them, be sure to let me know in the comments. All right, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week when we have more clues about writing mysteries.